You wake up when your body is ready. No alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be. No alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be. No alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be. You sit up, stretch, and ask yourself one question. What should I do today? For 99% of human history, this wasn't a hypothetical. This was every single morning for roughly 300,000 years. This was every single morning for roughly 300,000 years. And the answer to that question looked nothing like the life you're living right now. Modern humans spend about 90,000 hours of their lives working. That's roughly 1/3 of your waking existence dedicated to a job. That's roughly 1/3 of your waking existence dedicated to a job. But for the overwhelming majority of human history, jobs didn't exist. There was no employment, no wages, no boss, no career ladder to climb. There was no employment, no wages, no boss, no career ladder to climb. So what did people actually do all day? Let's start with what we know for certain. He tracked the daily activities of the Dobeju/Wansi people in Botswana. One of the few remaining groups still living in a way that resembles pre-agricultural human life. He found that adults spent about 2.5 days per week acquiring food. That's roughly 17 hours. The rest of the time, they did whatever they wanted. The rest of the time, they did whatever they wanted. And here's the important part. This pattern shows up everywhere anthropologists look. The Hadza in Tanzania, the Aceh in Paraguay, the Matu in Australia. Completely different environments, different continents, same result. About 15 to 20 hours per week spent on survival activities. About 15 to 20 hours per week spent on survival activities. For context, you probably work twice that. Now, some of you are thinking, but those are modern people.
How do we know ancient humans lived the same way?
Fair question. And the answer comes from bones. When archaeologists compare skeletons of ancient humans to early agricultural populations, the difference is dramatic. Farmers were shorter. Their bones show signs of nutritional deficiency. Their teeth were riddled with cavities from grain-heavy diets. They had arthritis in their spines from repetitive labor. And they died younger. And they died younger. Ancient human skeletons. Taller, stronger, Healthier teeth. Less joint damage. Healthier teeth. Less joint damage. They were doing less repetitive physical labor, not more. But the most fascinating evidence comes from something archaeologists found that shouldn't exist. Art. In 1994, explorers discovered Chauvet Cave in southern France. Inside were paintings created roughly 30,000 years ago. Horses, lions, rhinoceroses, rendered with perspective, shading, and movement. These weren't crude stick figures. This was sophisticated art. This was sophisticated art that required skill, planning, and most importantly, time. This was sophisticated art that required skill, planning, and most importantly, time. Someone spent hours, maybe days, deep inside a cave by firelight painting animals on a wall. Not for survival, not for food, for beauty, for meaning, for something to do. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found 100,000-year-old perforated shell beads. Tiny holes drilled through seashells, clearly meant to be strung together as jewelry. The nearest coastline was 20 kilometers away. Someone walked 40 kilometers round trip just to collect shells. Then spent hours carefully drilling holes with stone tools, just to look good. In 2008, researchers found a 40,000-year-old flute carved from a vulture bone in Germany. 5 finger holes, perfectly spaced. Whoever made this understood music. They understood pitch, and they spent significant time crafting it. Not for hunting, not for defense, for music. Tinnics. These aren't isolated finds. Across Europe, Africa, and Asia, archaeological sites from 100,000 years ago on. This is what people did when they weren't securing food. They created, they decorated, they made things beautiful. So let's reconstruct a day. You wake up around dawn. Breakfast is social. People talk. They plan loosely for the day.
Around mid-morning, a small group might leave to hunt or gather.
But here's the key. You don't go every day. You might spend the morning working on tools, sharpening a spear, weaving a basket. There's no clock, no supervisor. You do it because competence matters. Because being skilled earns respect. Because making things well is part of being human.
If hunting happens, it's not the frantic chase you see in movies.
Humans are persistence hunters. We track animals at a steady jog for hours until they overheat and collapse. We're the only species that can do this effectively because we can sweat and regulate our body temperature while running. By early afternoon, the productive part of the day is essentially over.
Nothing and everything.
People rest. They sit in the shade and talk. But they play with children. They groom each other, picking through hair, reinforcing bonds. Talking, laughing, telling jokes. Because in a world without money or police or written contracts, your survival depends entirely on your relationships. Not because it's productive, because it's how humans stay human. During the day, conversations were practical. But at night around the fire, 81% of conversations shifted to stories. Myths about how the world began. Tales of ancestors who did impossible things. Jokes that made everyone laugh. Wiesner argued that this is where human culture was actually born. Historical records from medieval Europe and sleep studies from the 1990s confirmed that before artificial light, humans slept in two phases. First, sleep for about 4 hours. Then, a wakeful period of 1 to 2 hours in complete darkness. Then second sleep for another 4 hours. Then, about 10,000 years ago, something changed. Humans in the Fertile Crescent began planting seeds and domesticating animals. Agriculture. And agriculture is a trap. Once you start farming, you can feed more people. More people means you need more food. More food means more farming. Within a few generations, populations exploded, and there was no going back. Because now there were too many mouths to survive by hunting and gathering. You were locked in. And farming required far more labor. Plowing, planting, weeding, harvesting, storing, defending crops from animals and raiders. Early farmers worked harder, ate worse, and died younger than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. But the population kept growing. And with larger populations came specialists. Toolmakers, potters, weavers, inventors, then soldiers, priests, administrators, and eventually jobs, employment. The idea that your time belonged to someone else in exchange for resources. By the time we built cities, the original human lifestyle was gone. Replaced by schedules, obligations, the need to work most of your waking hours just to survive in the system we created. Today, you spend 90,000 hours working. Your ancestors spent way less.
You sleep in one block and call waking up at 2 a.m. insomnia.